So this is our 12th annual South County Senior Summit, but this is our first time here at Soka University. We've been growing every year in participation with all of our seniors, which is a wonderful thing. This is the largest demographic group here in Orange County. And so we needed to move to a larger venue, and I think this is a really great venue for all of us. It's nice and central here in South County. So for the last 10 years, we were blessed to hold the event in Laguna Woods in their Clubhouse 3, and also known as their Laguna Woods Village Performing Arts Center. But of course, as I said, due to the overwhelming popularity of the event, we outgrew the facility, and to accommodate the larger audience, I think we're expecting between about 1,700 and 2,000 people here today. And when I got elected to office in 2014, we had about 750 in our senior summit in attendance. So you can see how it's grown every single year, which is a good thing. So as such, Soka University partnered with us to host this event here for the first time, and it's an absolutely beautiful campus. If you haven't been here before, please, on the breaks, walk around and take in all the beauty they have here on the campus. How many of you have actually been to Soka University before? Raise your hand. So a good number of you have, but a lot of you haven't, and today you're in for a real treat. Beautiful campus, they've got a lot going on here, and they have a magnificent performing arts center. So at the conclusion of the Senior Summit today, Wan Chin Chang will perform a private recital for all of us in the Grand Soka University Performing Arts Center, and that is also complimentary. Here to tell us more about that is Renee Bodie, General Manager of Soka University's Performing Arts Center. Please welcome Renee Bodie.
Welcome, everyone. Good morning. How is everyone this morning? Good. I hope you enjoyed walking into our incredible campus. I know the first time I walked onto the Soka University campus, I was absolutely blown away by just the peace and the beauty here. So I hope it was the same experience for you. And I do encourage you to take a chance to walk around because it is an incredible campus. So I didn't get to see because I was backstage. How many of you have never been to Soka? Okay, quite a lot of you, but then there's a lot of you that have been. How many of you have ever been to the Performing Arts Center? Quite a lot of you. Oh, I'm so glad. Yay, I feel like clapping for you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Well, for those of you who don't know, Soka University is a 4-year liberal arts college with an 8-to-1 student-teacher ratio and an average class size of just 12. Our campus is 18 years old, but we're already ranked in the top 25 national liberal arts colleges by the U.S. News and World Report, so we're very thrilled about that. One of the most beautiful things about Soka is they do believe that every person who deserves so should get a quality education. So any family who makes less than $60,000 and the student is admitted, tuition is generally free. We have over half of our students that receive full scholarships to Soka University, which is pretty much unheard of in this day and age. So, yeah, it's a pretty amazing thing. We are very fortunate. Well, I am the general manager of the Soka Performing Arts Center, and I would love to invite you all to come over. We have a free concert that's going to be taking place just after this summit at 1 p.m. with the wonderful pianist Wan Chin Chang, who also happens to be on our faculty. It is a free opportunity to experience the incredible acoustics that we have there. Our hall was actually built by master acoustician Yasuhisa Toyoda, who is the same acoustician who built Disney Hall and many others around the world, but it is an exquisite hall. If you have not yet experienced it, it's a wonderful opportunity to do so. So I do invite you to come on over at 1 o'clock and experience that. And to see what else we have. We have some incredible shows and concerts coming up in the 1920 season. We are going to have some, such as Sergio Mendes, Arlo Guthrie. We have Jimmy Webb, who wrote most of Glenn Campbell's songs. We have a great pianist series with Murray Pariah and Daniel Trifanoff, among others. And one of the things that we've added this year is, how many of you have grandchildren? beautiful because we have an incredible children's concert series that we're starting this year. We have 4 concerts. Most of them are Grammy-winning artists who are doing a children's concert series, and the show is only $5 for children. And it's $15 for adults. So it's a very inexpensive, fun thing to do to bring your grandchildren to or children. So please come, please look at what we have and enjoy, and I hope to see you all at 1 o'clock over at the Performing Arts Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. I know that I speak for everyone when I say that we cannot enjoy or cannot wait to enjoy the recital at Soka University Performing Arts Center after our Senior Summit today. This year, we're also pleased to welcome back once again as our title sponsor, Saddleback College Emeritus Institute. Here to tell us about the Emeritus Institute is Dan Predal, Director of the Saddleback Emeritus Instructional Program. But before he does, in gratitude for being our title sponsor and for all that they do on behalf of our senior community, I'd like to present him with our title sponsor award. So, Dan? Let's see. Yes.
That's it.
This is for you.
Thank you, Lisa.
And congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Good morning and welcome. Can everyone hear me okay? Very good. Again, my name is Dan Predale. I'm the director of the Saddleback College Emeritus Institute, and it's a pleasure to join you here today to celebrate senior living here in South Orange County. Saddleback College's Emeritus program is 43 years old now, and we have been serving older adults in South Orange County as a growing program over those 43 years. We now have about 6,000 older adults, and we encourage each one of you to join us as well. As you can see up here on the screen, the mission of the Saddleback College Emeritus Institute is to promote lifelong learning by offering academically rigorous, mentally stimulating, socially engaging, and health-improving courses for older adults throughout South Orange County. Before I get into a couple really great stories, I did want to share with you just a little bit of information related to those 6,100 students. As you can see on the screen, we have about 34% of our students who live in Laguna Woods Village, about 17% who live in Mission Viejo, 8% who live in Laguna Niguel, 6% who live in Laguna Hills, and about 29% who live throughout the South Orange County area and beyond. So for those of you representing your cities here today and who would love to see more classes in your facilities and in your locations, please just let me know and we'll be happy to work with you on that. Our faculty members make up the backbone of the Emeritus program. We have over 75 faculty members, 4 with at least PhDs, dozens and dozens of master's degrees, and professionals who are dedicated to older adult learning. In fact, one of the minimum requirements to be a faculty member in the Emeritus Institute is to have professional or educational experience working with an older adult crowd. So rest assured, when you come into our classes, you'll experience patient, welcoming, and informative instructors who will be there specifically for your education. As you can see on the screen as well, we have a number of facilities throughout the county. Our goal as a community college isn't just for the community to come to us. Our goal is to take the college to you as well. And so throughout South Orange County, it is our goal to at least have a class near enough to you so that you can be able to participate and not go too far out of your way to enjoy the wonderful learning that you can achieve in the Emeritus program. So numbers are important, but stories are the best, I think. I'd love to share a couple with you today. Related to our classes being academically rigorous, I wanted to just highlight a few quotes related to the impact that classes have on students. Particularly within academic rigor, students achieve great progress within our classes. You can see on the screen we have an individual who took a Spanish class and progressed quite well in her ability to speak that language. We have biology classes, a bird of the world class that is so fantastic. It goes on field trips and brings people into nature and to experience things out of the classroom and out of the home. And one of our goals is to make sure that we have classes that are stimulating in conversation. And we do that through a number of political science classes, Bible classes, and creative writing classes as well. Mental stimulation, it may be a buzzword, but it is one of the most important parts of the Saddleback College Emeritus program. In fact, in a recent survey of students, 87% of those who responded said that mental stimulation is the most important part of the Saddleback College Emeritus program. Could I have a show of hands who thinks mental stimulation is key to your longevity? Look at that. Please join us. You will get that in the Emeritus program. And socially engaging. I don't know how many people, but it's many, who come up to me and saying, if it wasn't for the Emeritus program, I wouldn't be getting out of my house as regularly as I do, and I wouldn't be making as friends as often as I do. Friendships grow within the Emeritus program. I know that I've made friends just with the students who attend, and I'm not even in the classes regularly. So it's important as an opportunity to build those relationships, to come to the classes, and to experience learning alongside your peers. And then finally, health improving. One of the main goals of the program is to incorporate healthy living into all of our curriculum, whether that's improving investments or bird watching, creative writing or theater, and specifically our yoga, our Pilates, our aerobics classes. Each of these courses is designed specifically to be a holistic health class so that the mind, the body, the persona is being strengthened so that you as a whole person are growing. So please join us for our health classes as well. And then finally, this is another active participation piece. If you've taken an emeritus class and you feel like your life has changed in the positive, could I just see a show of hands real quick? Wonderful. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the active participation that each of you have participated in for the program. The final quote I have up here is from a student who participates at Sea Country in Laguna Niguel. She is an individual who wasn't regularly coming out of her house, but from the Emeritus program, she's built friendships and has gained the courage and the strength to come out and make new friends. So all through that, I would invite you to visit our table out in the lobby or out on the courtyard there. Please register for classes. We have summer schedules already in each of the black bags that you picked up on your way in. So please do take a look at those today and join us at the table as well. So again, thank you, Supervisor Bartlett, Soka University, and appreciate your time today. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you to Supervisor Bartlett for hosting this today's Senior Summit, of which Cal Optima is proud to be a sponsor. Cal Optima is a health plan for low-income residents of Orange County. We serve nearly 1 in 4 Orange County residents. Our provider network includes nearly all of the hospitals in Orange County, more than 80% of physicians in Orange County, all of the chain pharmacies, long-term care facilities, adult day health care centers, and other services for our members. Our programs include not only Medi-Cal, but Medicare, and also a PACE Center. And I don't think most people are familiar with PACE Centers, but a PACE Center is the combination of an adult day health care facility with a primary care clinic. So it's for frail seniors who qualify for placement in a skilled nursing facility, but most seniors want to stay in their homes, they want to stay in their communities, if only they had the right kind of help. And that's what our PACE Center provides. We pick up these frail seniors from their homes in the morning, we take them home in the afternoon. While they're at the center, there are meals, there's social activities, there's physical and occupational therapy, and there's medical care in the clinic. And the center is located in Garden Grove. And our guiding principle at Cal Optima is we want to help seniors stay healthy, and we want to help them be able to stay in their homes and their communities. And this is by and large the preference of our senior members, and it's the most cost-effective solution. So I just want to thank all of you for being in attendance at today's Senior Summit, and for more information about Cal Optima and our programs, please visit our booth. Thank you, everyone.
And I think a lot of seniors, some of our seniors out there may not realize that you may be eligible to participate in the CalOptima program. And the PACE program that we have, the Program for All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly, is a remarkable program. It's an award-winning program here in the state of California. So if you want to get more information, please stop in. People think, well, we probably have just a handful of folks involved in CalOptima, but we have 3.3 million people living in Orange County, and 1 out of 4 residents is actually a member of CalOptima. So many more people qualify and just don't know it. So you're welcome to pick up information and talk to the CalOptima representatives, because those may be services that you may very well be eligible for and can participate in. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Steve Moyer, who is the CEO of AgeWell Senior Services. Older adults in South County are fortunate to have a service provider and the caliber of AgeWell Senior Services, which is our Orange County Office on Aging partner. A great example of this partnership includes the Senior Summit, and I'm pleased to host with AgeWell Senior Services, our Office on Aging, and now Soka University. At this time, it is my great pleasure to introduce the CEO of AgeWell Senior Services, Mr. Steve Moyer. Welcome. James, please.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you very much, Supervisor Bartlett. Good morning, everyone. We truly are happy that you're here today. I hope that you've had a chance to enjoy some breakfast and have had time to view the vast array of informative booths that is in the vendor plaza area. Also, what a beautiful campus Soka University has, just amazing. My name is Steve Moyer, and I am CEO of AgeWell Senior Services, a nonprofit organization that has been serving seniors in South Orange County since 1975. You may have even seen one of our bright green buses or vans on the road when you came here today. Simply put, AgeWell's core programs have been put into place to better the lives of seniors in South Orange County. We want to enhance, enrich, and prolong the lives of seniors by providing resources and services. We have case managers who will not only guide, but help seniors understand and utilize community resources which are available for older adults. Our case managers help individuals safely stay in their home and provide counseling to alternative living arrangements when needed. Our main goal is to let seniors live in place. We both promote their vitality and support their independence. Change is difficult as we age, and our case managers are experts who will help navigate seniors through difficult processes. During the past fiscal year, we provided in excess of 2,200 hours of case management and over 2,400 hours in-home service to seniors in our 400 square mile service area. You probably have heard of our Meals on Wheels program that has been delivering meals to feed homebound seniors for years. We have been the eyes and ears of each and every one of the individuals we serve, a type of security blanket, if you will. Not only do we deliver nutritious and flavorful meals to older adults living in their homes, but we also want you to know that we truly care for their well-being, which at times that has even resulted in saving their lives. During our last fiscal year, AgeWell delivered over 342,000 meals to homebound seniors and some vulnerable seniors. Our non-emergency medical transportation, the green buses and vans that I spoke about a little bit earlier, has been a godsend for seniors needing to get to doctor's appointments, dental appointments, dialysis, testing, physical therapy, and to their pharmacy for prescription. Last fiscal year, we provided over 64,000 non-emergency medical rides to seniors in South Orange County. Our senior centers, and especially their lunch program, where we serve a nutritious hot lunch 5 days a week, provide a friendly, safe haven for seniors to come and have a hot meal, socialize with people their age, and the most importantly, be a place where they can access a wealth of information and resources tailored for them. We also provide seminars and health and wellness classes at our centers. Our organization has created these senior centers for older adults. We truly want them to have a home away from home and able to accommodate them, the many seniors in your communities. This past year, we served over 75,000 meals in our 9 community centers that we operate. So to recap, AgeWell Senior Services is a nonprofit organization which provides the following services: case management, including in-home care, Meals on Wheels delivery to homebound seniors, non-emergency medical transportation, and senior center operations, which includes a lunch service, significant resource information for older adults, and health and wellness programs. Being a nonprofit, we're challenged with obtaining funding. We get our funding through grants, gifts, donations, corporate sponsors, and government funding, etc. In order to continue to serve the senior population as it continues to grow in numbers each year, I want to thank those of you that continue to support our organization. To learn more about AgeWell, please stop at our booth that's in the vendor plaza there. And also you can visit our website, which is myagewell.org. As CEO, I want to leave you today with my sincere promise of assuring you that our nonprofit organization, AgeWell Senior Services, has been and always will be here for the many needs of seniors in Orange County. We are ready to help and lend a helping hand in order to meet the needs of our senior population when the time arises. Simply, we want you to age well. Thank you very much for listening.
Not quite as tall as Steve. So as you can tell, the County of Orange has some magnificent partners. Saddlebass Emeritus Institute. We've got AgeWell Senior Services. And again, a lot of the seniors out there, we probably didn't even know we have things like non-emergency medical transportation to get you to your doctor's appointments. We also have, through OCTA and the County of Orange, a number of other types of transportation that may be available to a lot of you to get around the region and to your doctor's appointments and to colleges and such. So, take advantage of those services that are provided. As we age in place, a lot of the seniors that are active now may get to the point where they really can't get out of their house on a regular basis. And that's where the Meals on Wheels program comes into place, where you've got meals delivered right to you Monday through Friday. So we've got just a plethora of services, and we want to be there every step of the way as you age in place to provide you what you need. So next we have a very important agency at the County of Orange, and also partnering with us to host the event is our Office on Aging. And before I bring up Erin Ulibarri, who's our director of the Office on Aging, who does a fantastic job at the county, she's our county manager for the Senior Citizens Advisory Council. And we actually have several members of the Senior Citizens Advisory Council here today, so I'd like for them to stand and be recognized. They're right in the front row here. Okay. They do a great job representing all of our seniors here in Orange County. So at this time, please join me in welcoming Erin and our Office on Aging.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name's Erin Ulibarri, and I'm actually do more of the operations in our office. Actually, our director is Renee Ramirez, and she's here this morning also as well. So I'm just here this morning to provide a few minutes of reminders about our office and what our services are that we provide, and provide some new survey information that we have that we've recently compiled. All right, so just a reminder, the Office on Aging is what's called the Area Agency on Aging. That just means that we are the office that provides Older Americans Act programs through our office. And the programs that we provide through our office focus on providing support services that will allow seniors to stay in the home, stay in an independent type environment, rather than having to go to like a skilled nursing, and trying to maintain them in a home environment or a community environment as long as possible. So we have a couple different functions in our office. Again, a part of our office does contracts. So you may not know our name with some of the programs we do, because many of them are done through nonprofits, many that are here. AgeWell is really our primary in South County that provides services through our office. We have Alzheimer's OC is here. Alzheimer's Family Services Center is here. We have Council on Aging. They're all represented in the plaza and have tables as well. So those are all programs that we provide through our office, notably nutrition, some high cap Medicare counseling services, family caregiver services. Those are done, again, through the community, through different community partners. But we do have some direct services, and so we do have our call center, which I'll talk about in a second. We have health promotion and a health educator who provides chronic disease self-management classes through a network of leaders, diabetes self-management classes, and matter of balance. And so those are done and offered throughout the community by trained leaders. So you can call our call center, which I'll bring up in a second, to provide be able to access those programs. And we do definitely a lot of community outreach and education through our office as well. All right, so here's our call center information. Want you to this is the number to remember. So it's 800-510-2020, or the 714 number as well. And we do have everybody in their bag should have a Office on Aging brochure with those numbers as well. And we also have our mobile app, which you can see up there is the OC Senior Resources. So if you have a smartphone and want to pull up the app, we do have that available. And it will allow you to look at all the different resources that are available in Orange County. It's the same information that our call center staff use. And the same thing that you can go to our office, our website as well, and that has an online directory as well. So all the call center and the app and the online resource directory all pull the same information, and so you can get it in a number of different ways. But our call center staff can help you find referrals. We'll help you walk through some different resources and give you some information about the different services that are available throughout the county. And we are, you have some, just a reminder, we do have our social media platforms. So if you are on any of those, you can follow us, like us, and you'll get information about the office and different events that are happening related to seniors, caregivers, those types of events and information. All right, so we did conduct a community survey recently. So I have some just real preliminary results on what we found. Some of you may have completed this through senior centers or different community locations, but we are doing this to collect surveys for an area plan that we will complete for starting next year. And that just basically talks about the different services and the different priorities that our office will be focusing on. So we did collect over 2,000 surveys, so it's more than has been collected before. So we're going to be busy going through all the information and seeing what the results are telling us. Just a couple things that we did find. We did ask, and if you did take this, you'll maybe recognize some of these questions. We did ask what are the most important services to you, and so people ranked different services, and so these were the ones that came out on top. So personal and home safety was number one, with 70% saying that it was extremely or very important to them. And you can see the in-home care was next, family caregiver support was third, and then case management was fourth. And then we had a tie for five. So housing referral assistance, adult daycare, and respite services came in number 5 altogether. So this will help us maybe look at some priorities and look at services, potential services in the future. This one breaks down actually the safety, and it was actually personal or physical safety that people were most concerned about. And so you had physical safety, home safety, and financial security. And by far, it was the physical safety part. And that talked about falls and being safe in your home and in the environment. But overall, 83% of respondents were concerned about some kind of physical or home safety. This talks about financial assistance, and 65% of our respondents were concerned about either monthly household income or monthly household finances or medical finances. So again, it's a major concern of people, and it may be common sense, but yeah, but it was showing that people are concerned about these issues. Last one we have is that this was over 50% of people said that physical health limited daily activity. So that's something to look at as we're seeing how to look at services or what can we do for Orange County seniors as we move forward. That is a concern of a major concern. So that's just a reminder, this is our phone number again, our call center. So you can always reach out to our office, and you can help ask questions and get information on different services throughout the county on a number of service areas. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin. As you can see, the County of Orange and our Office on Aging is here to help. They've got a lot of great information, so don't hesitate to pick up information out there or to give us a call. As you know, the theme for our 12th annual South County Senior Summit is Back to the Future. That's why we've got the DeLorean out there. Back to the Future of Aging and Dementia. And our next speaker is Dr. Josh Grill, director of the UC Irvine Institute of Memory Impairments and Neurological Disorders. You can read more about Dr. Grill and all of our speakers today in the event program that's in your gift bag. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Josh Grill. Welcome. Okay.
I want to thank the supervisor for the opportunity to be a part of this event. We're honored to be included. I've been asked to give you a 20-minute update on dementia research, which is a bit of a task. What I'm going to try to do is give you an idea of the scope of the problem of dementia in our nation and in Orange County specifically. I'm going to try to give you an idea of the state of our research field currently, and I always like to conclude by telling you what you can do. So as you likely know, dementia is a major problem in this nation and worldwide. 50 million people have dementia today. It is north of 6 million people with dementia in the United States. And California is home to more people with dementia than any other state in the union. In fact, Orange County alone is home to more people with dementia than 26 different states in the United States. Whereas dementia is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States, it's the third leading cause of death here in Orange County. So to say that this is a problem that hits close to home is a dramatic understatement. This is a tremendously impactful and costly disease. Nationally, it's estimated that dementia costs our healthcare system more than $250 billion every year. And to make that more personal, we estimate that the cost to a family of having someone with dementia is around $300,000 per family. The single greatest risk factor for dementia is age. The older we get, the greater our risk. So unfortunately, all of these numbers are poised to dramatically increase in the coming decades. 5 or 6 million Americans with dementia will become 15 or 16 million by 2050. The cost of this disease could exceed $1 trillion if we can't find solutions through research. What is dementia? Dementia is a syndromic definition. It's a clinical presentation, a cluster of symptoms. Most notably, it is cognitive impairment. There are multiple domains of cognition, multiple aspects of how we think. For many of us, we think of dementia and we think of memory loss. And certainly that is hallmark, but not exclusive, as a cognitive domain that is affected in dementia. Decision-making, or what we call executive function, orientation, knowing who we are, where we are, when we are, visual spatial function, language, all of these are domains of cognition. And when our cognitive abilities are impaired, to the extent that we can no longer live life the way we once could, our activities of daily living are affected, we meet the criteria for dementia. This begins in early stages of dementia with affecting instrumental activities of daily living. A person can no longer work in their career as they once were able. Their performance in volunteering may be affected. Their performance in providing care in the home may be affected. Ultimately, dementia is most typically a progressive disease in which someone will lose the ability to provide their most basic care of themselves. Thus, the late stages of this disease, people require 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week care to maintain life. And therein, great cost is incurred. Many things can cause dementia. Rarely, dementia is caused by something that can be reversed. Severe dehydration, too many medications, hormone imbalances, vitamin deficiency. There are situations where someone meets the criteria for dementia. Their cognitive performance is affected, and they can't live life the way they once could, and it can be treated, perhaps even making someone who once was demented no longer so. Unfortunately, the overwhelming majority of cases of dementia in this country are caused by neurological disorders, what I call neurodegenerative diseases. I list several here. Frontotemporal lobar degeneration is a disease that generally has an age of onset below age of 65, affecting the front parts of the brain, most frequently resulting in disinhibition and changes in behavior. Parkinson's disease, you may know, is a movement disorder. causing slowness of movements, tremors, and challenges in walking. Those patients also develop memory problems and other cognitive problems, generally after the onset of their movement disorder. Lewy body dementia is a syndrome in which cognitive problems begin and give way to movement disorders. And of course, overwhelmingly, the most frequent cause of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. 70% of people with dementia suffer from Alzheimer's disease, typically characterized by memory problems that begin gradually affecting short-term memory problems, ultimately giving way to other forms of cognitive impairment, including language, decision-making, and several others. These different causes of dementia can largely be distinguished clinically based on symptom presentation, based on other diagnostic tests. But ultimately, what is causing these different diseases is a biology of disease. Today, the gold standard diagnosis of all these diseases is made at autopsy, when we can examine the brain for hallmark changes that were causing the dementing disorder. I give you some images of different pathologies found in the brain of people who suffered from dementia during life. Even today, research that follows people through life and then examines their brain after death remains critical to moving our field forward. Two of these pathologies I highlight here: the amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles associated with Alzheimer's disease. Two hallmark pathologies Alzheimer himself identified in the brain of the first case of the disease that would later take on his name. Even today, we continue to study these amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles to better diagnose, to better understand, and ultimately, we hope, to better treat these diseases. Our diagnostic criteria have evolved. We have gotten better at diagnosing all of these diseases, Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. We've also moved earlier. Frequently now, people are diagnosed with what's called mild cognitive impairment, or MCI. MCI, in contrast to dementia, means that someone has cognitive problems, but they do not affect activities of daily living. Their function is intact. We can measure and document that their memory or other cognitive performance is not what we would expect for someone their age or education, but they continue to live their life. They are at dramatically increased risk for developing dementia, but it is not a certainty. It is an opportunity to help people begin an important stage of planning, thinking about residence status, finances, living wills, advanced health directives, end-of-life choices. And it is a critical area of research at UCI and beyond. We're studying how best to deliver this diagnosis and its implications to families. Our tools to make a diagnosis have also increased, and with them, our confidence in the diagnosis has increased. I'm showing you here a picture of an amyloid PET scan. This is an opportunity to visualize the amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease while a person is still living. Just a few weeks ago, a landmark study in which 11,000 people with MCI or early dementia underwent this type of scan was published. UCI was a part of the study. 60% of people in the study who had this scan had their clinical care adjusted as a result of the learnings from this tool. For 35% of people, their diagnosis actually changed. Our technology is advancing, and with it, our opportunities for clinical care are improving. Sadly, it's been 15 years since we had a new drug approved for treating dementia. Here I list the current FDA-approved therapies for Alzheimer's disease specifically. They exist in two classes of medications: the cholinesterase inhibitors listed at the top, Aricept, Exelon, and Razidine, which keep levels of a brain chemical higher than they would be otherwise. Those drugs are all approved in mild to moderate. A couple of them are approved in severe dementia. They're approved in Alzheimer's disease specifically. Some of them are approved in Parkinson's-related dementia and are likely to work just as well in dementia with Lewy bodies. In contrast, those drugs should not be used in people with frontotemporal lobar degeneration because they could actually exacerbate symptoms. Memantine or Namenda is a class unto itself. It's approved only in moderate to severe dementia and only for Alzheimer's disease. None of these drugs have been approved to treat MCI, and the data for their ability to be efficacious is mixed. None of them have been shown to slow the course of this disease. When a person takes these drugs, they perform better than they would on a memory or other cognitive test compared to if they were getting placebo. That's illustrated here. 2 doses are outlined for the red and pink lines versus placebo in the black. When the drug is taken away, however, you can no longer tell who got drug and who did not. The underlying history of the disease is unaffected. Unfortunately, our headlines are littered with suggestions of miracle cures and new opportunities to reverse cognitive impairment associated with Alzheimer's disease. This led some of my colleagues at UCSF to write an article about the rise of pseudomedicine in dementia care. We have similarly contributed to this literature, and I think it's a critical topic. Here in Orange County, there are numerous opportunists taking advantage of the tens of thousands of people dealing with dementia who are desperate for better treatment options. Today, in 2019, we cannot slow the course of dementia. We cannot reverse it. We can't prevent its onset. In a few minutes, I'll tell you about things that you can and should do to lower your risk for developing these diseases. And I assure you, we are hard at work in developing rigorous, evidence-based therapies that can do these things. But we're not yet there. I'd like you to memorize this slide. The point of this slide is only that there are numerous promising candidates based on outstanding science that have entered the clinical arena of testing as candidate therapies for Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. They all must be tested. They all hold promise. Again, sometimes the headlines paint a less than rosy picture for my field. Recent failures in late-stage clinical trials have generated splash headlines, not inappropriately, but I have to convey to you, clinical trials set out to answer a question. Generally, what happens if we treat a specific population with a specific drug at a specific dose for a specific period of time? Countless questions remain unanswered, even for drugs that seem to have failed, like the one discussed in these articles. This clinical trial failed to find a benefit of a therapy for a drug that could actually remove the amyloid plaques from the brain of people with Alzheimer's disease. There was great hope, optimism, and promise for this drug. if patients were exposed to this drug at high enough dose for long enough periods of time, their brains no longer looked like they had Alzheimer's disease. Sadly, it does not appear that that was adequate to slow or stop the progression of their disease. But what if that drug had been given in combination with a drug that could clear the tangles from the brain? Anti-tangle drugs are much further behind the anti-amyloid therapies. And drugs that treat the inflammatory impact of these diseases on the brain are few and far between. I often make an analogy to HIV and AIDS. Once a deadly disease, HIV is now a chronic condition people live with. And it was only when a cocktail of drugs became available for use in a combination did the clinical care meaningfully change. Perhaps in Alzheimer's disease, we will similarly need a cocktail of medications targeting the complexity of what's occurring in the brain of people afflicted. Moreover, the PET scans that I showed you before that have increased our confidence when arriving at a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, through research have shown us that plaques are actually present in the brain a decade, if not two, before the onset of memory problems. And we do not yet know the answer to what happens if we remove plaques before symptoms begin. The first ever clinical trial targeting people who have normal memories but plaques present in the brain is set to conclude in roughly 2022. Here I'm showing you a picture of a person I have great admiration for, Paula Hunter, who was the first participant in that trial at UCI Mind. She is being followed for 4.5 years, having an investigational drug that targets the amyloid plaques infused into her bloodstream on a monthly basis to help us answer this question. Thanks for the mic. Can I get my... I lost my slides. Thank you. So I want to finish by telling you what you can do. First of all, I said there's no way to prevent Alzheimer's disease. There's no recipe or prescription I can give you today to guarantee that you'll never get this disease. But there's things you can do to lower your risk. There's work afoot to create gold standard evidence to test whether things can actually prevent Alzheimer's disease. But as yet, we're not there. Certain things certainly increase our risk for dementia. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, sedentary lifestyles, head trauma, smoking. You should avoid these things. If you smoke, stop. If you have high cholesterol and high blood pressure, work with your doctor to get it down. This year, a clinical trial found that targeting blood pressure and more aggressively lowering it could reduce risk for MCI by 15%. Important that we follow that up, but these things can and do make a difference. Similarly, there are things you can do. Get physical exercise. Eat a healthy diet that includes fish on a weekly basis and lots of dark green leafy vegetables. Stay mentally and socially active. Get a good night's sleep. All of these things may actually move the needle from a public health standpoint. In fact, one estimate suggested that if we could affect cardiovascular risk factors by 25% in this country, we could reduce the total number of cases of dementia by 500,000. These things matter. Do everything you can. Nevertheless, we see people day in, day out who are highly educated, physically active, ate a good diet, and still get these diseases. So after that, we hope you'll work with us. And I close all of my public lectures with what I call the 3 8s, because everyone is in a position to work with us by advocating, donating, and participating. This is Maria Shriver. I'm really thrilled that she's one of our advocates for our research center. All of you are in a position to advocate, not necessarily for us. The supervisor does an outstanding job of bringing these issues to light. all state and federal representatives and local representatives need to know the importance of these issues. And certainly, we need even more resources for caregivers and families in the throes of these diseases. At UCI Mind, we've been thrilled to have wonderful philanthropic support for our research, but did you know that when you submit your California state taxes, you can check a box to make a small donation towards research in California that funds a grant competition for investigators in this state? And lastly, a good clinical trial sets out to answer one question, but we have many, many questions to answer. And successfully doing that, and doing that as rapidly as possible, will require a remarkable partnership between investigators like me and the community at large like you. We created a tool to make it easier for people to do that, called the UCI Consent to Contact Registry, or C2C. There's a booth with an iPad outside where you can put your email address in to begin that process. But if it's not with us, I hope it'll be with someone else, that you will consider participating in research to help us address this crisis as soon as possible. At UCI Mind, we are Orange County's only state and federally funded Alzheimer's disease research center. We're one of only 30 congressionally designated centers in the country. So we're fortunate to have this resource here in our backyard in Orange County. And I am incredibly honored to serve in a leadership capacity for more than 50 renowned, in many cases world-renowned, world-famous investigators who've devoted their professional lives to doing something about these diseases. In closing, I hope you will look into UCI Mind. I hope you will take steps to lower your own risk for developing dementia later in life. I again want to thank the supervisor and our hosts, and you for your attention. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Grill, for that very enlightening update on dementia. UCI Mind is such a great resource that we have here right in Orange County. And the presentation today, it just kind of hit home with those risk factors, and I've got some of those risk factors myself. So it's going to motivate me to make some changes, certainly in my lifestyle. And I hope it'll do the same for yours. Our next speaker is Judy Bonilla, Director of Education for Brain Fix Now, a brain healthy lifestyle program promoting the importance of starting brain health initiatives. You can read more about Judy and all of our speakers today in our event program that's in your gift bag. At this time, please join me in welcoming Judy Bonilla.
Welcome. Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for coming out today. And in the time we have together, I'm going to be sharing the 6 pillars of brain health. And it was so interesting listening to the doctor. About this time 7 years ago, I was an intern at the Navy Medical Center, San Diego, around near Balboa Park, if you know San Diego. And the population I was working with was senior wellness, military retirees and their dependents. And most of my class was 85 legally, 80 is what they might tell me. And I started reading all the material on dementia, with age being the #1 driver. And I thought, what can I do with this research? Because there is so much research about some of the risk factors. But when I looked to my community, there was nothing out there that actually addressed it. So that's when we tackled BrainFit Now, based on research on what has been identified as triggers. So again, the doctor did a great way of setting this up, because it is truly a lifestyle. So, since it's a lifestyle, that means it requires practice. So we're going to do a few warm-up exercises. And I will tell you, this is, there. Oh. All right, if I'm going to read this so that if you can't see it in the back, you'll know what it says. It says November 5th, 1955. The first exercise we're going to do is a recall. So sometime during my presentation, I am going to ask you to recall some of that data. So again, I'm nearsighted, so I totally appreciate when somebody tells me what's on the board. November 5th, 1955. The next exercise we're going to do is a response and recall. That is me uttering a sentence and you replying. So there goes that screen. So again, response and recall. I'm going to recite a proverb, and if you know the answer to the proverb, reply. Again, I'm going to recite a sentence from a proverb, and your job is to shout out the answer. When is the best time to plant a tree? The correct answer is 20 years ago. When is the next best time to plant a tree? The correct answer is now, today. Now, in that last slide, there was a year. Does anyone recall what the year was? Again, the correct answer is 1955. So, using the proverb, when would have been the best time to start a brain health program? 1955. When is the next best time? Absolutely. And that is something I really want to drive home. It's, you can't do anything about the past, but what you can do is chart a new future. So what we identified when we were doing our research were that there were 6 areas that kept repeating themselves in all the journal reviews, all the research that was being published. And they were on these, what we call 6 pillars. Reducing your stress. Or actually, I'm going to be, for once I'll be negative. Be stressed and increase your risk for Alzheimer's. Don't manage your health, be at risk. Sit down, don't get up, increase your risk. Eat poorly, increase your risk. Isolate yourself, stop learning, don't do anything, increase your risk. Isolate yourself, and for those of you who are introverts, you can do this. It's true. There. So what you see here is a pie chart. And the reason why we use this visual is that, oops, yes, great, thank you. Is that each of those pillars, we issue the same value. Each of these are weighted in the same way because just like our fingerprints, they're unique. What you need to improve your brain health is different from the person sitting next to you. So the key is to look at yourself, meaning self-awareness, because this is where we saw people, I'll say, dropping off the habit trail, and that's what's so important about developing a brain-healthy lifestyle. I mentioned earlier about warming up, doing an exercise. I want you to have I'm going to start with the takeaways. 1, you are practicing brain health. You are starting a brain health practice. You don't have to get it perfect. What you do want to do is start. So again, perhaps one of these wedges is where your priority needs to be, but that comes only through self-awareness. Because what do we know? Our minds drive our actions. Some of us are still operating on what we might have learned as a teenager, as a 28-year-old. Now is a time to do an honest self-assessment. Don't be afraid. Like your mother said, you really are good enough. You are good enough. So this was fascinating. Again, we're looking at building or changing habits that you might have. So many of us grew up with 21 days to a new habit. Well, what happens if you if you didn't have a habit after 21 days? Did you read the book again? Oftentimes, we often slack off. We started looking at research on habit building. The University of London found out that some of us can adopt a new habit within just a couple weeks. Some of us, it will take almost a year. The majority is about 2 months. So when you think of your brain health practice, you want to set it into context. It is individual to you. Again, just as your thumbprint is unique, so is your ability to adopt a new habit. So again, you be you, you practice. And no, you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to start. One of the first keys we identified was, one of the first pillars we identified was stress management and how much devastation chronic stress puts on your body and, again, increasing your risk. So when we look at the pillars of brain health, it is so much more. For some of you, reducing your stress might be singing in the shower. It might be practicing your putting. It could look like sitting down in prayer or meditation. The key is to find something you are willing to do, and we have hundreds of ideas for you. The idea is to begin a practice. For anyone with an Apple Watch, the best app on this watch is the Breathe app, where it allows you to breathe for 1 minute. There are some mornings when I use that app that minute takes a lot longer. But it is so easy. There is such a low barrier. And again, it is just a 1 minute inhale and exhale. You feel the vibration on your wrist. Again, it is a low barrier. So your first takeaway is explore what reduces your stress. And again, this is that self-awareness because you know yourself better than anyone else. The next area, again, the doctor mentioned this, health management. Our health management portfolio is huge. We look at how much you are sleeping. Many of us, as we age, sleep 3 or 4 hours. No, you need about 7 good hours. For some of us, it's managing, or I'll say, I'm trying to think of how to politely put this. My girlfriend's father was diabetic. We used to say he was always playing Russian roulette because he was, at the time, calculating on how much insulin he should take based on what he was planning to eat. And sometimes he overcorrected, sometimes he undercorrected. The problem was he never managed his condition. Managing your conditions is huge. And again, if you're not sleeping, that's a huge health concern. If you're not taking your medication on time, that's another health concern. And one of the newer areas has come up around gum disease and oral care. But I was speaking to a few people in the crowd, and your takeaway for this, when you think about health conditions, is to have a medication review. Some of you might be familiar with this. It's when you visit the pharmacist. In that medication review, you are going to take every prescription you are consuming in the original container, any prescriptions or supplements you get from the mail, any tea you're drinking, anything you are doing to improve your health. You're going to gather that. You're going to call your pharmacist and say, I'd like to have an appointment for you to review my medication. And you are going to sit with him for about 30 to 45 minutes. Pharmacists now are one of our best friends because their job is to understand the drug interactions. So they can identify if maybe something you might be taking as a supplement is actually not allowing your body to process the medication you might be taking. In addition, they might also identify perhaps a side effect that you might be having for your condition, which might lead you to be a risk for falls, which we know leads to head trauma. Again, another trigger. So again, your takeaway is to go out, have a pharmacist review, but more importantly, especially now as allergy season comes up, and you start looking at over-the-counter medications. Which one is best for you to take? If you're not taking any prescriptions, great. However, I also ask you to talk to the pharmacist because you want to find a prescription that is not going to make you drowsy, behind the wheel, or as you go about your day. Physical activity. Again, I am right with the doctor, and again, he is using the same research I'm using. Again, what we're trying to do in the community, and again, I spoke to a couple ladies, we define a community as being you and one other person, or you and many. The idea is that you are accountable to someone else, that you can bounce ideas, that you can share your progress, your wins, your fails. It's all about learning. The power of 10. We came up with this, again, low barrier. The action, when you wake up in the morning, you're dressed and ready to go. Instead of going into your car or maybe going outside in the backyard, your mission is to walk out the door, maybe down the steps, down the sidewalk, and walk for 5 minutes. You time yourself. At the end of 5 minutes, you stop. You sight a landmark, you return home and go about your day. You have just added 10 minutes of walking to your perhaps already 30 minutes, 45 minutes of exercise. More importantly, you are reducing the time you sit. Now, the key to the power of 10 is that if you walked at 8, you might walk another 10 minutes at 10, another 10 minutes at 12. You are walking throughout the day. So theoretically, you might be able to add an hour of heart-healthy exercise at a very easy, low barrier. Now, recently, I had a allergic reaction, and I found I could not walk 5 minutes, and that was a tip-off, like, okay, something's wrong here. I could not walk for 5 minutes, and it gave me an appreciation for anyone with joint disease or arthritis. If you can only do 1 minute, that's fine. Again, you are who you're working on. So great if you can do 5 minutes. But if you can only do 1 minute, that's 2 minutes. Again, the idea is that you are doing exercise throughout the day, and most importantly, you're not sitting. And I'm super happy to report the San Diego Union just released a study this past week on the need for short increments of exercise. and they recommended walking. So again, that's Power of 10, low barrier. The next topic I wanted to discuss is nutrition. Again, that's a wide umbrella. We look at nutrition as perhaps adopting a meatless Monday. Again, that's an opportunity for you to try something other than, I'll say, the animal protein you've been consuming. It could look like a meatless Monday. It might be you becoming a vegetarian at breakfast. Again, you're looking at plant-based, I'll say plant-based protein. The idea is to get as much variety in our diet as possible, because we know as Americans, we never have a balanced diet. And we know for sure that there's usually not enough fruit and vegetable in our diet. So the action item here, I encourage you to visit your local farmer's market, because that is so rich in brain healthy activity. First, you take your car there. Maybe you and a friend go. That's great, because that's developing some social connection. When you get to the farmer's market, maybe you park a half a block further, so you have to walk a half block more. When you get to the farmer's market, your job is to sample everything unless you're allergic to it. And when I say sample, I mean just like you do wine tasting. You take a sip, you might take some notes, and you toss it. If you don't like it, then you have the opportunity to talk to the maker and say, you know, that's not my taste. I prefer something. Again, this is social interaction, and if you have been to a farmer's market, you know these individuals are proud of what they're creating. So again, the farmer's market is an opportunity for you to walk, to taste, to communicate, and more importantly, it's an opportunity for you to buy one vegetable, one fruit. The choice is yours, but all you have to do is buy one. And ideally, it's going to be something you've never tried. For the longest time, I refused to eat peppers. You know, the green pepper. I was on a train in Spain, and this woman offered me pepper, and I didn't want to say no because I didn't want to be an ugly American, so I said, oh yeah, sure. And so I ate a yellow pepper, and I thought, God, that's really good. I had been missing out on yellow peppers all my life. So I encourage you, go to the farmer's market and take home one. Learn how to prepare it. Your friends, your neighbors, family members might know how to prepare it. The idea is that you've created so many brain healthy exercises within that one action. That is gold. The other thing I, again, truly appreciate our speakers, those of you who are here for the Emeritus Institute, the discussion was on lifelong learning. For us, again, the pillars are wide. The idea is that lifelong learning for you, if you speak French, Spanish, and Italian, might be learning American Sign Language. You want to do something that challenges you. You, in fact, want to do something where you say, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. That is actually your brain making new connections. That's a beautiful thing. Through lifelong learning, that's where you begin to get that cognitive reserve, which is what you want. So again, look at different ways. For some of you, it might be learning how to use your smartphone or your smartwatch or your smartphone that your children bought you, or how to set up your Alexa. Again, you want to look at it as a practice. You don't have to get it right. Know that each time you make a mistake, You're learning something. How many of us have said, I wish I would have known that? You could have made a better decision. Again, learning is how you create those connections. The last is something so interesting. We call it the social prescription. Again, individuals who are isolated, depressed, are at higher risk for cognitive decline. Thank you. Again, what you see are some of the ideas on ways that you can educate yourself. And again, these are low barrier. For some of you, again, you might be out in the community. I don't know if anyone's ever taken a MOOC class here. Absolutely. I went to Harvard. On MOOC, they're online courses that are offered from universities around, literally around the country and around the world. They are fascinating, they are challenging, and you can do it from your desktop or laptop. You don't need to go anywhere. And what's more important, they have forums where you interact with your classmates. It is a really dynamic way, again, of low barrier education or lifelong learning. Again, circling back to the Emeritus Institute, their programs fit the bill right there. And again, if you've always wanted to paint and never learned, this is your opportunity. Your family members will hang your artwork, whether it's good or not, because they love you. Again, I was starting to talk about the social prescription. There's a group in Laguna Woods called the Barbaras. It's a club of women whose names are all Barbara. They get together. I think it's once a month or so. I was hoping to meet a Barbara while I was here. They get together, have lunch, but more importantly, they also started doing laughter yoga. And for anyone who's ever done laughter yoga, it begins with being completely awkward, as an adult feeling a little embarrassed and shy, and then within 10 to 15 minutes, the person you didn't know is now your best friend, because you've just shared an experience of letting yourself be silly, letting yourself be vulnerable, and not being judged. The takeaway when you look at Social RX is to build your community. Again, community could be your next door neighbor, the two of you. It might be your block of neighbors. If you're living in a village, it might be those village members. Or you might have to get creative and join something like laughter yoga that decreases our fear of saying hello to somebody you don't know. So your takeaway is to look for a laughter yoga. I encourage you, and again, I'm forewarning you, you will feel awkward, you will feel uncomfortable, and then within 10 to 15 minutes, you're having a good time. So again, what you're looking for is to get out of your comfort zone and start looking at ways to build those connections. And again, that community might be where you get your coffee every morning. The idea is interaction. So I've given you 6 pillars plus a foundation, and that foundation is so crucial, that self-awareness. However, what we do know is you have to have a plan. You don't have to do all 6 within the next 48 hours, but I challenge you to pick one of those 6 boosters and start applying it. And the way you're going to do that, oh, I've got a screen, yay. Please take a photo. You're going to ask yourself, what am I willing to adapt? Not change, you're adapting. What might be a barrier? We're adults, we're realistic, problems happen. And lastly, you're going to think about a solution. And here is where it gets richer. This is when you ask your friend, your daughter, your son, your ex-husband, what do you think? I want to take up painting, but I don't feel like driving there. Talk to them. What solution might be there? If you're like so many Southern Californians, we're very comfortable with our exes. We want everybody to be happy. So again, what you're going to do is put on your solution provider hat. So again, the three, consider this adapting a new behavior. Recognize there will be a barrier. What do we know? None of us have ever gone to A to Z, or actually, I should say, none of us, or actually most of us, have never succeeded at plan A. Oftentimes, there's a plan B, and I always joke I'm on plan Z, meaning I've gone through the alphabet a few times. But more importantly, you want to keep the eye on the prize, which is the solution, because the solution drives your desire to reduce your risk of Alzheimer's in older age and have I'll say, the best quality of life that you can have. So, as I wrap up, 2 takeaways. Last night I met with John Leland, who wrote the book, Happiness is a Choice You Make. He interviewed he did a casting call of several 85-year-olds and then actually selected 6 people. The research tells us we are happy in later life. 85-year-olds are happy than midlifers. The people he met with, again, different demographics, all were happy, and the reason why is they were grateful. Every morning, no matter what was going on, no matter what health condition, financial, or no worries, they expressed being grateful. So this morning when I rolled out of bed, I thought, I am going to choose happiness. I am going to choose gratefulness, because that's a practice too. So, what do we know? When is the best time to start a brain health lifestyle? Absolutely. Again, thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure to meet some of you, and I look forward to talking to you.
Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Linda Zimmer, Project Director for Iris OC, a healthy living online community for older adults. You can read about Linda and all of our speakers in today's event program. So ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please join me in welcoming Linda Zimmer. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm so glad to be here. I am going to talk to you today about Iris OC, which is a community resource for all of you, whether you are looking to age in a healthy way, if you're caregiving, or a member of the community who's just really interested in how we can best engage with the community. If you've been hearing this morning, we know 3 things about healthy aging. One is that 80% of our health is locally related, meaning the local environment that we live in and interact in actually informs our health much more even than our genes. That only accounts for about 20%. So those of us that may feel like we're destined to live until we're 110 or to deal with some chronic diseases, that may or may not be true based on the local environment. The other thing that we know is that it takes a village. We cannot do this alone, and one of the themes that you've heard today is how important it is to be engaged in the community, to have a circle of friends, to have support. So it takes a village for us to be healthy and to age in healthy and positive ways. And the third thing is that your quality of life or definition of that is not the same as mine. Every individual in this room believes that their life and their quality of life and what makes a quality of life is very, very different. For the introvert, of which I am one, loves staying home and reading or binge watching. That's not necessarily the best thing in the world, as we've learned today. But then there are the extroverts who love that social engagement and find that very easy to do. But all three of those things, health is local, it takes a village, and the fact that we need personal choice are three things that were kept front and center as this project, IRIS-OC, was being developed. The Irvine Health Foundation seed funded this as a community resource and a community asset. Now, we've gotten lots of ideas today on things that we need to do, but one of the things that IRIS-OC was built for is to help you take action on those ideas. Things like being self-aware, like educating yourself, social engagement, what's going on in the community, what resources do I have within this community, is all what IRIS-OC is about. So this is your resource, and it is one that is literally owned by the community, meaning that it's the community themselves that are contributing to what you see here on IRIS-OC. So let me run through it really quickly just to introduce you to IRIS-OC. As this resource, you have at your fingertips on your desktop, on your mobile device, on your tablet, but many of the features of IRIS-OC and the information that is available here is also compatible with things like your smart speaker, and can be broadcast via television and other sorts. Any place there's a screen, basically, IRIS-OC can be present. So let me, as I said, run through a few of the features of IRIS and what you can expect to see here. And we encourage all of you to log in to iris-oc.com and check it out. And we would love your feedback as well. So one of the first things when you log in is something that we call that little health check. You heard today how important it is to be self-aware, and this is a very simple tool to help you keep track of how are you feeling every day. This is a very simple thing to click one of these and say, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, or I'm not so well today. Being able to see that over time tells you something about areas that you might be able to address if you're not feeling so well on a day-to-day basis. And then there are sections within IRIS-OC that have to do with educating ourselves on all the myriad things that we've heard about today, but also things that are very specific to you, to your life, to your lifestyle, or to those that you're caring for. We also have local events here. And I'm going to show you that, as well as where can you get referrals to resources, do research yourself, find them yourself. So when you come to IRIS, hopefully you'll feel good with being welcomed back. And this is called the dashboard. And as you log in and start to use IRIS-OC, what you'll see are 3 recommended educational articles. Now, these are going to change as you start using IRIS based on the things that you're interested in, things that you've specified to IRIS that you want to know about. So in this case, we've got, I want to start volunteering, that social engagement element, or I need transportation. So here are resources here that are available to you to find out what information is available and what resources are available. So when you click into those resources, what you will find is specifics about it, except it's not scrolling, so maybe I won't do that. So you'll find out specifics about that resource, as well as the ability to have related services for that. So a lot of times we'll hear, yeah, exercise is really important, but how do I do it? Where do I get started? So that the informational resources educate you, but then there are also related resources that'll help you take action right then and there to go find that yoga studio or exercise routine. So another thing that you'll find on the dashboard is something called Ask Iris. Many of us have questions. You have booths out here. You've had talks today on people that provide resources, and Ask Iris is another resource that you might use. So you might actually go in here and type in a question and ask what you need at that moment for your own lifestyle, for whatever issue that you are dealing with at the moment. Now, Iris OC relies on many of the resources that you see out here, as well as in the broader community to answer these questions. We do not have the expertise filling a room of people answering these questions. What we do have, though, are lots of relationships that the Irvine Health Foundation has developed over the years with many of the community organizations here in Orange County to help us get you the answers that you need as you're navigating various issues or have questions. One of the things that we have found being out in the community talking to literally hundreds of seniors is, and one of the things that gives everybody a lot of excitement is the fact that we have local events up here. And what that means is on Iris OC, you can find all of the events, or a good number, I can't say all of the events that are happening here in Orange County that are of interest to older adults. And here's just 3 as an example. There's a Medicare 101 meeting at the Seal Beach Senior Center. There's free monthly education at Alzheimer's Orange County. Mission Viejo, who has been a wonderful advocate and partner of ours, is having a decluttering seminar. So all of these things, events that are happening within the county, are extremely helpful for you to take action on all of the tips that you've gotten today on how to be healthy as we age and to increase the quality of our longevity. Another thing that we like to highlight on this dashboard is stories. We all love stories about the people in our community, getting to know them, and what they're doing as far as their interests, how they're staying engaged with the community, who they are, because we all know that we need inspiration. And we can find that inspiration in each other. So one of the things that we are highlighting, and if anybody wants to be interviewed, we would love to talk to you, so that you can tell a little bit about who you are to the rest of the community and be highlighted and inspire others to be active, stay healthy, cook, take care of pets, volunteer, whatever it is that you like doing. There are others who will be inspired by what you're doing, and this is a forum for you to do that. So that's the dashboard, and as I said, this is set up as a technology platform to be personalized to you. The more that you use this, the more information can be recommended to you based on your interests. But we do have what we call an entire reading room, and what this reading room is videos, audio, a myriad of text information about a myriad of things that we all are running into as we age or as we caregive. So these are broken down for you into various categories, and for those of you at the back of the room that might not be able to read it, things like what's happening in the local scene, what's going on with financial, what about health, what about well-being. And so you can filter this information by a particular category. And of course, you can always do a search, just like you can do on most apps or websites. So you're going to find lots of information here about health and exercise and well-being and eating and activities that are going on within Orange County. And this is all very locally focused. What can I do in my neighborhood? What's happening? What are related topics here within my community? And one of the things that we are also doing, as you'll see here, is we're trying to do this in multiple languages, and thanks to many of our community partners who are providing information in Spanish and Vietnamese, we're able to expand that information into our very diverse community here in Orange County. And we rely on many of the community organizations to provide this information. So as an example, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to scroll through this, but this is one about caregiving and has been provided to us by one of the community partners, the Alzheimer's Caregiving Center here. And notice there's a little link up in the corner up here that says, "Read this to me." And what that does is if you have audio on your computer or on your mobile phone, it will read that to you. So people that have low vision or are even mobility issues with sitting at the computer are able to get this information in an audio format, so it's not required to be able to read the text. So there's technology built in here meant to be resources for as a diverse population as we can possibly accommodate. And that's the beauty of the technology that allows us to build this into lots of different screens, lots of different places, so that you can access this most readily. As far as the events are concerned, this is just some examples of some of the events that are currently available and accessible via IRIS. So that information is kept up to date by a wonderful team of people at IRIS, but again, all of these come from the community. So you'll see that lots of your own city senior centers are represented here. A lot of other organizations are represented here that are having events that are aimed at you at this life stage, at issues that you are dealing with in your life or curious about, things that you want to learn. The beauty of events is, and having an aggregated place to go find those events, is that if you've ever tried to do this, it's a full-time job going to 10,000 websites or getting email or getting print brochures from all of the cities, all of the organizations, because we have such a rich pool of information here in Orange County. This is one place where many of those events and resources are aggregated, and you can come here to find out about those, and many of the organizations here are providing that information to you via the IRIS platform. And the information, as you click in, will tell you where that's happening, what the location is, what the time is, who to contact. And we're working very hard at starting to find accessibility information so that you know what the physical environment is like, so that you can plan for that as you go to those events. And finally, services. We are all out there looking for resources of all kinds. And IRIS, thanks to, again, many of the local organizations here in Orange County, are helping us build a community database of those resources. We, of course, have our 211 system. We have our Office on Aging, the Council on Aging. There's many resources that you can go to get referrals. IRIS is just another one of those for your own self-research, or for those of you who may have relatives living distant. This is available via the internet. So, for example, my mother does not live here in Orange County, but how wonderful would it be if me here in Orange County could connect with this kind of resource and find resources for her while she's living distant from me. So this allows anybody to be able to come in and find out what resources are available right here within the county and be able to contact that organization or that resource directly and get that information into your hands so that you can take the action that you are looking to take. One of the things that we've done, as you'll notice on some of these references or these resources, is there's logos. These are the community partners who have provided us this information. So it is our way to help you know that these resources are being recommended or referring organizations on that resource. So it helps you know that this is a vetted resource by someone else in the community so that you feel comfortable either calling that organization and discussing that resource with them, or knowing that they are using this as one of their referral resources. So it gives you a little bit of peace of mind about calling and using that resource directly. Finally, if you are a member, and you do not have to be a member to use these resources, but if you are a member of IRIS OC, there are a couple of benefits that you get by being there, meaning being able to interact in a little bit more robust way with IRIS OC. One of those is that you can actually build a little library for yourself of resources or a collection of things. So if you see events and you want to gather them together, or you have articles on that exercise or recipes, there's lots of food and recipes on IRIS OC. Those you can gather together in your own library, and you must become a member, which is a super easy sign-up process. It's basically your name and your email address. You could create your own collections of things. So in this case, I've created a couple of events that I didn't want to lose track of. And so within this library, you can keep track of things, go back and refer to it. And because IRIS is actually a sharing platform, those of you in your family might be able to also add these to your collections so that they can alert you to a possible event or resource that might be of interest to you. So it's a way for you to be able to collect that information, save it, store it, and share it with someone else within your circle, or as Judy called it, within your community, or within your village of people who help support all of us in being healthy. And finally, one of the things that many of us participate in is social media. And in social media, much of the data that you create does not belong to you. It belongs to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And so you can cancel your account, but you can't necessarily access all of the things that you've created that easily. You can now on Facebook because it's been something that has been requested. But we built in from day one the ability for you to be able to go in and access your data, see what you've done online, what have I shared, what information have I built in my library. Looks like we've lost our internet connection. But you can also download all of that information onto your own computer and use it elsewhere, or you can delete it. So if you didn't want anyone to have that information, then you can delete it directly from IRIS OC. So we have built that privacy in directly. Let's see if this one works. And then finally, I do want to mention, as I said, this is a great resource, a beautiful community resource for all of those that are individuals, those of you working in organizations who are referring your clients, people that call in, members of the community that are looking for a resource, you can certainly use this internally within your own organization. But the other thing that we are doing very intentionally is building a community resource. So all of this information is not coming from one entity or one individual. It's coming in a crowdsourced way from the community. And the beauty of this technology platform is that any website can embed what's in the IRIS databases into their own website. So as an example, this is the Orange County Strategic Plan for Aging website, and they have embedded the IRIS OC services database directly into their website. So the very same information that you find on IRIS can also be found on other organizations' websites, because this platform enables us to empower that community resource. So all of this information is up to date, it's accurate, and we have lots of eyeballs on it, making sure that this information is the most relevant that we can possibly provide. Because it's very difficult in a county this large, with the wonderful array of services and diversity of services that we have, for one entity to keep this resource database up to date. So if you are an organization serving seniors, you can also embed this very, very easily and quickly into your own website, so that we're distributing this information to the community as a community asset. So that is IRIS OC. We invite you to go visit IRIS OC at iris-oc.com, and hopefully you'll find lots of actionable information there where you can take all of the tips that you got today and actually go out there into the community and use all of these diverse resources that we have available. If you do decide to become a member, it's a very easy process. You'll have a little sign up button on IRIS OC, and we encourage you to become a member of IRIS OC. And most importantly, we would love to have your feedback, your ideas. Tell us what you need. What are the next steps that we need to take? We're just getting going with IRIS OC. This is our first version of this, so we're very interested to understand how a technology tool like this can help you with your lifestyle, with your choices, and helping you engage with the community and the resources that you have available here. So thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions during our panel discussion.
The theme for our Senior Summit is Back to the Future of Aging and Dementia. Here to give a presentation on this topic is Dr. Carrie Burnite. And you can read more about Dr. Burnite and all of our speakers today, of course, in our event program. So at this time, please welcome Dr. Carrie Burnite.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to put this down here.
Perfect. Hello, thank you very much for having me today. I recognize the precarious situation that I'm standing between you and lunch. So we go for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of me, then you get your questions answered with our panel, and then on to lunch and talking. And that is something to celebrate. So the theme of this event is Back to the Future. And I thought that was very fitting because on the outside, I am Dr. Burnite. I worked for 20 years as a professor in geriatric medicine. I worked in elder abuse. On the inside, I am very goofy. I am someone who dreams and sees the incredible beauty and strength and dignity and promise of aging. And it's something we're all doing, and it's something that society has told us is undesirable or something you should avoid or something scary. And the reason that they've told us that is because it's a multi-billion-dollar anti-aging industry. So we all know it. We're not falling for it, and that's why we're here today. And I'm just so grateful to have all these leaders and ambassadors of the new aging. So with that, again, I'm a rule follower, and I stuck to the theme of Back to the Future. So the reason they called it this is that it's back. So by back, what I'm talking about is there is so much good in the past that we don't want to lose. So the value of family connection, grandfathers having time with their grandchildren, face to face, slow it down. Stop trying to, be something we're not. We don't need such huge lips. So we want to preserve that, right? We want to preserve what is good about our humanity and our longevity and this gift that we have that many of us will live to be 100 or beyond. But let's also talk about back to the future, and that is our future selves, a self that we envision and that we create, and that is not just an accident. And so by being here, by getting resources from Iris OC, from learning from Dr. Grill about Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia, we're shaping that. It's not just an accident. So when someone says, oh, you're so lucky that you're having, these things in older age, you worked for it. We all did. And as we age, there will be 1,000 things. There will also be a lot of things that go wrong. But learning to and forcing ourselves to focus on the things that are right, there will always be more right than is wrong. So let us dig into your brain, because we're also really interested in dementia. We had you gather up your questions, and we put them in different topics, and the dementia pile is about this tall, and then the other topics are about this tall. So I want to talk about dementia, but I also want to talk about your brain in the absence of dementia. And even with dementia and cognitive impairment, there is so much that remains. So mild cognitive impairment and dementia are not a death sentence. You know full well that you're not this body and that you're not just this brain. And so I'm going to give you some good news, because I feel like you could use good news and you don't get it enough, because, as I said, there's a bias toward bad news, scary, everything is so bad. How about this for some good news? The integration of your left and right hemisphere increases through life, and in fact, gets higher and higher if I were to show you a chart. So a story that I always tell, instead of telling you about a chart about your problem-solving abilities, I want to start with a story. And that story is, I have a colleague, Gene Cohn, who is an MD, PhD at this little place called Harvard. He has parents who come to, they take the subway, and they're in their mid-90s, and they visit him. And one day, their dumb son was late picking them up. So they're standing there, no sun, no cell phone, dumping snow. So they're standing there, and they look across, and they see a pizza place. So they walk over to the pizza place, and they say, we'd like to order a pizza to this address. When you deliver the pizza, we will be riding along in the car with you. That, my friends, is problem solving. Problem solving that comes with age, that comes with experience and integration. So, in my opinion, our worry about whether we might be forgetting some names or having this and that, don't let it outshine your strength and that you can figure stuff out. And it's great news, and no 20-year-old is ever going to look and go, oh, wow. No, it needs to come from us as older adults. 80-year-old, 90-year-old. I just went to a 105-year-old birthday party, and his name was Elmer, and he is my colleague that I work with, was telling me about his plans for the next 3 or 4 years with his birthday. And I was thinking, that is how you do it at 105. So, this is your worried face. Stop. Okay. There are things you need to avoid, right? We don't want to be too Pollyanna here because there are some real treacherous things that I want to talk about. The first is you really want to avoid and be very cognizant of how common it is, scams. So I know that all of you, including myself, have had people reach out to us saying that they are our grandchild, saying that they are the IRS, saying all kinds of things because it is a lucrative $37 billion industry about scamming those of us who have worked so hard to earn the money that we're living off of. So I worked many years in the field of elder abuse and neglect, and I have some of my colleagues here today who I'm so grateful for. The way that you make sure that people don't have all this unfettered access to you is to be really thinking about what technology is opening you up to. And the good news is there are solutions about that. It's a $37 billion business. Okay, so that's number one. We're going to talk about how to avoid scams. Second of all, the reactive approach. Okay. So y'all know that aging can be tough, and aging in this analogy is the water. So you don't want to wait till you get into the water and your hip is broken, or you don't have enough financial resources, or your cognitive impairment is such that you are having a hard time paying your bills. You want to get ahead of it. So I'm proposing that you really think about the proactive approach, right? I'm not saying that the water is not out there and that it's going to get challenging, but by planning some of these things in advance of saying, yeah, you know what? I might have cognitive impairment. I'm likely, half of us are going to have visual impairment. I am 50 and I had my retina detach already, and the second one is detaching. So I'm jumping into visual impairment early. Many of you will have hearing impairment. I don't have to tell you all the cancers and arthritises and things that are out there. And then the third is that we're going to talk a little bit about loneliness. Okay, it has a stigma. Everybody, the first thing is like, yeah, not me. I'm not lonely. That might be somebody else, but not me. What is the definition of loneliness? The research definition that we use is wishing you had more social interaction than you currently have. So, you can be in a crowded room and be lonely. You can be by yourself and not lonely. So if you are chronically wishing you had more social interaction, it's going to have an impact on this longevity that we have earned. Research has been showing us that chronic loneliness has an incredible impact on not only coronary artery disease, stroke, and in fact, all variables controlled, death. It has a profound correlation with dementia. So, if you are one of those people, and I know some of you are in your minds, and you might be men, it's going like, I don't really need social connection. Luckily, I don't really, not so much, not me. It's the same thing as saying, I'm just one of those people who doesn't need to eat. I'm just one of those people who never needs to sleep. Like, we all need it. We were wired for it to connect with other humans. So I loved this former Surgeon General who said, during my years caring for patients, the most common pathology I saw was not heart disease or diabetes, it was loneliness. So again, I have the ability to read your mind, and you're like, yes, I know. I already heard that. I already read about it. But how do I avoid it? I'm not working now. My best friend and spouse has passed away. My kids, I'm delighted that they've, grown their wings and flown across the country or across the globe, but I'm not seeing as much of them. How do I avoid loneliness or isolation? So this is kind of a creepy picture of me getting in the face of a beautiful, beautiful 110-year-old woman. But besides my creepiness, I like that connection. It is not just the number, it is not just the depth of connection. Like, a lot of times I used to just think before I dug in that it was just how deep your connections were. It's also the number. So things of getting out and connecting, and today you guys are filling your buckets up, which is great. But there are days when my mom, who is a spectacular 90-year-old, doesn't see anybody. And so we need to find ways that we are encouraging interactions, both the quality and the quantity. So this is where I turn to technology. There is, in fact, a global confluence of two revolutions. The longevity revolution, 10,000 of us every day turning 75, and the other revolution, the digital revolution, where everything is digitized and you press a button for that and do this. So when these two came together, the question is, how does that impact the world that we're creating in which we're going to age? So this is my colleague, Scott Lean, and his co-founder, who you would meet back at our table, Isaac Lean, for GramPad, and he is doing what is the most important job, which is listening. And what he did, this was 114-year-old Anna, who was sharp as a tack and resilient and hilarious and wanted to be connected, but was kind enough to share with our colleagues what the problems were. And the kinds of things that she said was, there are great things out there. There is Iris OC, there are great things. However, there is a concern about my Wi-Fi, I got to get that all worked out. And, the passwords are making me crazy. And also the wires and the tiny, and the font is so little, and, I'm getting such a bad headache. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that, I'm going to scream. So what we tried to think about is, how can we take the best of what technology could offer and partner it with safety, right? So that we keep these scam artists away from us. So it's high touch and high tech. So I don't ever want to be saying, let's, instead of human interaction, let's just have a robot come and take care of us. How can we, in fact, just use technology as a tool to connect humans for purpose, for meaning, to live all the way to the day that we die? So we created something that was headache-free. No setup, because we hate setup and twisties and all that. No passwords, because it was that password, was it this? Did I have an exclamation point on the end? I think it was capital. Wait, when I went to my darling, brilliant mother's house, she has a list of them, and they're all open for anyone to see. So if you go to her house, it will just say Bank of America, and then she's got the whole thing ready for you to just drain her account. And that she's not alone. So if you want to keep something confidential, you got to think of much more creative than just passwords. No plugins, nothing tiny after my retina is detached. I simply can't do things of plugging in tiny things, nor can I put in my own darn earrings. And also something that keeps out solicitors and ads and people who would prey upon us. So we have frustration-free, but function-full. So the things that you want to be doing, which is sharing family photos with a touch of a button, sharing videos, so that what I do all the time is that I record something, press a single button on my regular iPhone, and then it goes right to my mom, and she doesn't have to do anything, but we can be sharing things real time with no headaches, because we've worked too long and too hard to have all these headaches. Video calls are such a great way with those of us who are hearing impaired, because it helps us be able to read lips. And it really shows you if you're wanting to talk to your grandkid, you want to see who you're talking to. Does she have black lipstick and a lot of piercings around? You need to know this. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Weather is something we learned. With GrandPad, we employ a cadre of adults age 85 and above. And what we learned was, you know what, I am interested in weather. And I'm not just interested in my own weather, I want to know the weather of all my kids and grandkids with a single touch of a button. So we're like, okay, we can build that. So the ability to press a button and everybody in your contact list, their weather comes up. Similarly, music, we don't want to pay more. So we had music that's included, 30 million songs that don't cost any extra. And music really matters, and I'll touch on that. Email, the ability to email and also use voice email, because sometimes, frankly, you don't want to be typing it out, you just want to use your voice. Access to the internet that is safe, and continue to learn, continuing to learn, and also in order to capitalize on this problem solving that I talked about earlier. So I want to, we could, as a nation, tap into the collective problem solving of older adults, I think we would solve all these problems that are plaguing us. So we needed a way to get into everybody's homes in a safe way in order for people to share their wisdom. So there is something that we call the circle of trust. Everybody that you want, nobody that you don't want. And so we were able to build that in to the GrandPad so that everybody that you want is in your circle of trust. So this is what it looks like. And it's important for me to tell you that, after 20 years as a university professor, I found this and partnered with this team to create something special. It's not the only solution, and it's not a sales kind of thing. What I want for you is to use technology in a way that empowers you, that doesn't frustrate you. We have all been so burned by technology that was designed by and for 20-year-olds that we want something that was designed for and by 90-year-olds, 100-year-olds. So this is one solution that I'm sharing with you, and my goal is that we as a country and we as a world start designing like this, design smart. Every time I go into, I don't mean to bag on Apple, but every time I go into the Apple store, they have a training session, and it's the loudest ambient noise, and they're gathering older adults to show them some tiny thing that you have to barely get your finger in there. And I think, why would we force people to use something that wasn't designed for them? And I love the quote that the ultimate sophistication is simplicity, not because older adults are less than. It's the ultimate sophistication to say, I don't need all these headaches. So what we did is we put everything on there. It includes your LTE. So what it means is that it works anywhere, and you don't have to monkey with internet and Wi-Fi. It just works everywhere. So that was a big blessing. It is, the way that they have it is, right now we're selling it in 1,800 Target stores, and all Target stores, but you can also just call And if you are interested, you can go by our booth, which is right out the door, and there's a card that you can pick up that tells you more about it, and also just a phone number where you can always talk to a human. And because we would never do a thing of press 1 for this, press 2 for that. So when it arrives, it already has your photos on it and your contacts. We even got rid of the on and off button, because even that's a pain in the rear. So you just open it up and it's on. We redesigned the screen so that our dry fingers, what happened is that we had our testers and they would touch it right. They're doing it right, but the moisture in our fingers decreases as we age, and so the screen, it's not our fault. It's that the screen wasn't sensitive enough, so we had to design it from scratch with a sensitive screen, and to put the speakers in the front, and to make it wireless so you can just set it on a charging cradle. The goal is to make you be able to access everything that you want to. So for example, if you want to, I was just drooling over Iris OC, and I thought, wow, how wonderful. I'm gonna go home on my mom's GrandPad and have that site. So she just presses one button, which is internet, and then there's a picture of the Iris OC site, and then she can be getting all the content she wants with none of the junk that she doesn't want. So if, for example, you were going to do a call, you would press a big button that says call, and then you have a choice. You can call with the traditional way with your voice, or if you want to do a video call, you see a picture. So this is a guy named Scott, and I just think, I want a video, Scott. You press a button, and then Scott can see you on his phone, wherever he is, and you can see one another. And what we learned again from our grand advisors was it helps to read lips, but sometimes November looks like October, even when we're talking. So then we learned, okay, we created a real-time texting so that as you're saying the word, the proper word comes up across the screen real time. So to connect humans. So I want to talk a little bit about music, and remember the scene from Back to the Future that I like so well. I wanted to introduce you to Althea. Althea is a client that I am so grateful to be working with, and Althea was a school teacher, an incredible mother, and she was living with Alzheimer's disease and got to a stage in which she was nonverbal and quite contracted. And music that is emotionally salient, that means something to you, is stored in a different part of the brain. And so we were able to ask Althea's daughter what music moved your mother. And she said, well, when she was a little girl, it was hymns. She knew all these hymns, and let's find them. So luckily with 30 million songs, it's not, you find a lot of obscure songs. We found those, and then I had the greatest joy and blessing of my life is to get to go, and Althea, who is nonverbal, can sing the words to the hymn. And you talk about living until the end. I mean, it is the most beautiful, beautiful. And on this particular day, after the song finished, she said the word lovely about 25 times. And I just sat and thought, yes, we are not our bodies, we are not our brains, but we can enjoy life right up until the end with Alzheimer's disease, with cancer, with a colostomy bag, blind, deaf. We are much more than that, and we can use technology to help us live that very human life. So this is photos, just that sharing of photos, and this is my friend Harry, the one who had been scammed, and over the course of 16 months, he was scammed out of over $600,000, and he lost his home in Mission Viejo. And it was very rough because he needed connection, and yet the connection was what was getting him in trouble. By the way, I wanted to note he did not have dementia or cognitive impairment. He was simply lonely and trusting, went to Stanford, he was a veteran, and he was a great person. And After he lost his home, we had the blessing of enabling him to have his grandpad so that he could connect with all of us who were bringing him joy and keep out the people who were just trying to steal his money. Because even after he lost his home, they continued. So, what is the future of longevity? It is connection. It is connection in person. It is going out of your way to let your goofiness out and reach out to somebody and say, do you want to come over? Do you want me to come over? Do you want to sit next to each other at the Senior Summit? Like, step out and do it in person. And if not, do it with technology to connect to others. Your grandchildren and great-grandchildren and children and boyfriends and girlfriends will be blessed by increased connection. The future is choice. Your choice, the autonomy to decide where you receive care. Is it in the home? Is it living with a friend? Is it living with a family member? We've got to really open it up, that there is a lot of options out there right now, and the person who decides how you age is you. And don't let your kids try to parent you. That's my other message. I tell kids all the time, back off. Your mom decides for herself whether you agree with it or not. I had to tell myself that. And dignity no matter what. So this is one of my friends who was in a very, this was a few days before his passing, and yet the dignity of selecting music, the dignity of laughing together, we can maintain that to the very end despite any of our circumstances. Whoa, choice again. So the last slide is Back to the Future. The future is now. I think we're going to have a short panel, and then we're going to have lunch, and thank you very much for coming today.
At this time, we're going to have our Q&A session. Dr. Grill did have to leave. He's got a speaking engagement in San Diego. But he is having a presentation on June the 13th at Bowers Museum. It's going to be entitled UCI Mind, Ask the Doc. And you can get more information about that at mind.uci.edu. So now I'm going to read our first question here. Is it true that Alzheimer's is more common in Orange County? And what are the causes of this?
I'm from San Diego, so I'll bow out of that question.
I think that was one for Dr. Grill, so.
Do you want to pass on that one? Does anyone?
I'd like to pass.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to call a friend? Okay.
However, you know what, I will answer that, and what I think it could be possibly, you think about this area as being high net worth. A lot of professionals in this community. With that comes a lot of stress. Because you think in your professional life, if you've owned your own business or been a principal in a major company, you didn't have a 40-hour work week. You worked 7 days a week to solve problems. So again, I think it could be stress, because heaven knows you have a great built environment. So again, that might be something to look at. And again, the doctor would be the best one, because he's been doing that research. But when I think and I look at the community, that could be an aspect of it.
And when you take a look at some of the risk factors, we have a lot of those, I think, that are prevalent in Orange County, with stress management and trying to deal with that, and lack of sleep and so on. So let's get to some of the other questions here. This one is for Judy, and I can relate to this one. Do you have any ideas regarding problems with sleep?
Absolutely. What you want to create is a sleep kit. I created a sleep kit. I give it to my friends. That sleep kit has my earplugs in it, and I have never been an earplug wearer. There's something about that can reduce any, I'll say, ambient noise that might just wake you up from that cycle of sleep. The second thing, if you're not allergic to it, lavender has also been known to promote sleep, so whether it's a lavender oil, but again, what you want to make sure is you're using that pure lavender oil, the essence, and not some synthetic blend. The other thing I recommend is a sleep mask. And again, this is for those of you who are chronic non-sleepers. You want to pull out the big guns, and that is with this trifecta. The other thing is your environment. I encourage you to have, I'll say, again, for chronic sleepers, to have those drapes that block the light. I also encourage you to stop your electronics about a half hour before. And my last tip is a turkey sandwich or a turkey snack before you go to sleep. That has natural tryptophan. I was staying at a hotel and they actually had a sleep menu. There are about 4 items on it that they had they'd done the research to provide their guests with a good night's sleep. So yes, there is something, but it does take some intervention. And again, there's some great information, and I looked it up. It's the my favorite website when I'm looking for information on sleep is the National Sleep Foundation. And their website is sleepfoundation.org. Super simple. Again, that's sleepfoundation.org. So again, if you're looking for more tips, that's a great place.
Okay, so sleep mask, earplugs, lavender, and a turkey sandwich. Got it.
How many of you, by a show of hands, have a tough time with sleeping at night? Okay. All right. I just wanted to see. I suspected that was the case. I think mindset is also a big part of it too, of like I think what we think about during the day also impacts what goes on before bed. And so a lot of times countering thoughts of these like, oh, all these things are going wrong and this and that. Every time those kind of thoughts come in, then you counter it with another thought of like, it's gonna be okay. You got this, girl.
Okay, next one is for Linda. What happens to the data on Iris OC? What is the privacy policy?
Thank you for asking that question. That's one near and dear to my heart. Iris OC has been built for privacy, data privacy from the ground up. This was the discussions that we had long before Iris ever existed. So the data, as I mentioned, belongs to you. It does not belong to Iris. You own it. Now, of course, it does sit on our Iris OC servers, but that is all encrypted. We do not sell it. We do not share it. We're very, very transparent about the fact that you are able to go in and delete your data. So if you're worried about being tracked and advertised to and sold as a commodity, this is something at the core that Iris believes is not what you want, and it wasn't built for that purpose. So again, this is intended to be a community resource and for you to own your own data and to keep it private, and it is not shared with anyone, including other people on the site. So that if you have something that you want to share with other people, you have to specifically say, I want to share this with, and be very intentional about who that might be, who also is on Iris. So privacy is locked down as we can do it at the moment. So, and that is something that's top of mind.
Okay, and next question is for Carrie. What can you do when your spouse demonstrates deterioration but refuses to get help or follow up?
Great question. Did everyone hear that? Yeah. So it will happen with a lot of us that, you don't age exactly the same way with your spouse, and you'll have different times where one person, thank you. How's that? Okay, so we have these spouses or longtime partners, and one of us is kind of aging one way and one of us is aging another way, and it's tough, right? Maybe one's sleeping, one's not sleeping. One's really trying to learn this tech stuff, one wants nothing to do with it. How do you navigate together? So that would be a whole Oprah of its own, but so I'll just give you the 1 cent version is, you know, that love that you have for each other is deeper and bigger and sweeter than the frustration that you feel. And there isn't one couple that doesn't feel frustrated. So all the AARP magazine where people are like skipping and looking at each other like they're the greatest thing ever, I don't know anybody like that. So I think you stand by your person. You recognize that ultimately it's you that you can control. You know, you do your best aging and joy while loving that person and recognizing that they're doing it in a way that might not be good for them, but it's also their autonomy. So it's that balance of, I'm going to try to invite you and encourage you, but if a person wants to be in their chair or be crabby, we can't change that person. So stick with them, do your own thing. How's that?
Okay, thank you. All right, next question for Judy. What supplements prevent dementia?
I'm so glad someone asked that question. The question is about supplements. The research has not proven particular supplements benefit or reduce the risk of dementia. However, I will tell you, there is a strong placebo effect. A colleague of mine who was diagnosed with cognitive loss, he began taking, I think this might be the heartburn, Prevacid. Somebody might be familiar with it. It was one of those that you can buy at the drugstore. He began taking it. His wife said he improved. I don't think it was the supplement per se, because as you heard from the doctor, the research is not there for a treatment or a cure. However, a sense of well-being might reduce the symptoms, and I'll say the behaviors, if someone is not as worried about displaying the symptoms. So as a placebo effect, yes, but if you are substituting that, a supplement, for doing some of that other work that I mentioned earlier, no. Again, that self-awareness. Take the supplement and do the Power of 10 walk.
Okay, thank you. And our next question for any of our panelists. Question is, I've lived 80 years without technology. Why start now?
I'll start that one and then pass it over to you. Well, first of all, you can't escape technology, and by that I don't mean that you have to be actively engaged with it. It's just a matter of fact that technology is getting integrated into every part of our lives. And today we take it for granted that we can go on the internet and get the information that we need. And there is lots of good information out there. Absolutely, but there's some stuff that's not so great. But technology is getting simpler and more invisible in our lives every day. Look at your car, for example. That is powered by technology and software. So why should you start now? Number one, it helps the brain, right? It's one of those learning things. It keeps you engaged, it connects you with other people, and it connects you with the important information that you need to know. I was talking to a couple of doctors the other day, and I've heard this from several, is we even have our technology portals with our healthcare plans or our hospitals. And less than 5% of people use those portals, and which are extremely valuable for keeping connected with your healthcare providers. So thanks to technology like GrandPad, technology is becoming very simple, easy to use. It does not have to be the frustrating element that you often associate with it. So technology is here to stay. It helps us expand our horizons as well as our brain and cognitive abilities. And I'm going to pass it over to Carrie because I'm sure she
That was
has.
perfect. I completely agree with Linda.
And oh, gosh, I was in technology in the late 90s, and when I discovered the internet and that there were video cameras all around Paris, I thought, oh, my mother would have loved to see this boulangerie streamed from her home computer. I wish she had lived long enough to see that technology. So when we talk about it connecting, if you're now armchair traveling, you can travel around the world using technology. And with something like a GrandPad, again, easy to use. A more serious reason is so much of our I'll say outreach, and again, all of us, including Supervisor Bartlett, is online because we do not have the money to market, to do mailings on everything we do, so it goes electronically. So you might miss some valuable information that you can use or someone you love can use. And lastly, I am a big believer of being silent on Facebook. That was one of the first, that was my first job as a gerontologist, teaching social media to older adults or adults past 50. You can have a Facebook account with no information, not even your picture, but that allows you to search websites. So you could search Supervisor Bartlett's Facebook page and find out where she's speaking at, what initiatives she's working on. You can go to the GrandPad Facebook page. And again, Facebook is very, I'll say insulated for those of us who just want to look. And I think Iris OC has a Facebook page?
We do.
Again, most organizations, because we just do not have the funds to do the outreach, we have a Facebook presence. So again, you can be silent on Facebook and just be an observer.
Absolutely. Okay, that's all the time we have for questions today. And again, we don't want to stand between you and lunch and our concert this afternoon. Please thank our great speakers.